Hello, friends. Today I want to talk about your creative space, whether it's your studio or a corner in your dining room. Is your creative space practical, efficient, and tailored to your particular needs? There's a second question. Is that space just a little boring? Is it something that's good to go into, but hard to keep clean? Or maybe it's so pretty, it's hard to go in and work and mess things up. What I want to suggest today is let's have creative spaces that are both functional and pretty, or as I call it, pretty functional. Functional is defined by how well something serves its intended purpose. If your purpose is to get to work quickly and be able to walk away without leaving a mess, does your space work for you? If it does, then it's functional. And if it doesn't, there's some things to consider. If it's easy to find, it's easy to put back. That's why I'm a big fan of putting things up on the wall and open storage, because if I see it, I can find it and I can put it back. Niche storage. If you have big piles or big boxes of green fabric, that's a little harder to organize than if you have a smaller box of, say, green batik fabric. This way, once again, it's easy to keep it organized. Occasional storage. There are some items, like this very big cutting mat, that I use intermittently, like maybe every couple of weeks. So I store that near, but not in my studio. Easy to take down and easy to put back. Studio chic, that stylish, polished little place that you see on Pinterest and think, oh, I wish I had that. But really, a pretty creative space is visually inspiring. It's filled with the items that we all collect: colors, textures, details, maybe your own artwork. All those things spark your imagination and they invite you, encourage you to create. So don't miss this opportunity to make your space a little prettier. Just like a bouquet of flowers, if you have color, it makes all the difference. So if your materials are paints or markers, or in my case, thread or fabric, use that to create visual interest by arranging these colorful items out in the open. It makes a big difference. Making your space attractive doesn't mean spending money. Considering using the materials you already have and repurposing them, like I did with this old basket covered with scrap fabric, or these zip bags made out of old projects. Don't forget a backdrop. When you're sitting there sketching or painting or sewing or whatever, you want to have something surrounding you, something that calls your attention. So if you're making some art, put some art up. Put something up so that you see a little bit of inspiration as you work. Since I'm a person who works with fabric, I like to include some really neat pattern rich details from my stash of fabrics. From an ironing board to seat cushions, it adds some excitement to my studio. For you, it might be color or something else entirely. My 3 rules for creating a pretty functional space that help me whether I'm organizing or reorganizing. I make sure that my space is filled with color, with patterns, with textures, and images that inspire me. My frequently used materials are stored near my work area, are easily seen, so they can be put away. And I don't ignore ergonomics, little things that help me work for more extended periods of time. My studio isn't big, so I have creative corners where I put out my materials right next to the activity that I'm doing. In this creative corner, I have my paints just on the other side of the door next to the place on the wall where I paint my fabric. Don't forget ergonomics. That's how the space works for you and your body. Around the corner from my paints, underneath where I do paint, I have a padded mat. This saves my feet so much. And as a bonus, it also protects the floor from all those spills. In my sketchbook corner, my wet materials are on the left side, and they're contained in, believe it or not, some just thrown out aluminum cans that are covered. To the right of my sketchbook area, I have my dry media, and those are stored in old ceramics and a tin can. It's organized, it's pretty, and it's functional. A creative space could be a corner of a guest room, or a rolling cart, or it could be a sprawling, self-contained, real artist studio. Size doesn't matter. But think about this. Working in a cubicle is the antithesis of a creative space. And it's not because of size. It's because that cubicle is designed to be one thing and one thing only. And that is functional. It functions as a workspace. The key to making a creative space work is making that creative space easy to maintain, which makes it easy for you to spend time in creating and not cleaning. When I was teaching art in public school, I always started my year thinking about how can I make this space that kids walk into visually engaging, make it different than a classroom, make it something where they walk in and automatically their brain goes, wow, this is different. This is a different place to be. And I take the same approach to my own creative space. I fill it with art, with patterns, with colors. I'm organizing my materials in a very pleasing way. I use interesting containers. And I have most of the things that I use out in the open so I can see them. But as long as they're being seen, they also have a function of adding visual interest. So they're organized, they're functional, but they're also pretty. I also want to take the time to make sure that my space also works for me and my body. I want to have chairs or stools like the one I'm sitting on that's wooden, but by placing it on the mat, it actually is much more comfortable, or standing mats, or having chairs that are adjustable, or having my sewing table at the right height. So all of that ergonomics makes it look, feel, and function in a way that's inviting. So I hope when you walk into your space that you'll take some of these ideas, not instructions, but ideas. And if you're walking into your space and say, oh, my fabric looks so pretty, but every time I pull one out, then I don't put it back right away because it has to be folded perfectly and it has to be restacked and all of that. Maybe it's pretty, but it's not functional. So think about that. And I hope it helps. And I'll see everybody next week. Bye-bye.